First of all, if I haven't seen you already this year, Happy New Year. And the question for this series of videos is, what is legacy? What does it mean? How does knowing what the concept is help you to understand what your body, your emotional state and your mind is telling you about your future? How does it affect your past? And then what practical tips can you have to know when you're living into your legacy and creating it, or when you're living out of a previous legacy? Just before we start to talk about legacy, I want to talk about something that I'm creating, which is part of my legacy. So in 2024, I'm going to be teaming up with a number of organisations, including Chilham Castle Retreats, which I'm really excited to be working with, to put together a series of workshops and residential retreats designed to transform and empower people's experience of themselves and their life. Okay, these are going to be immersive experience. They will include physical therapy, one-to-one coaching and group sessions as well. And I may well be working with some really exciting international transformational therapists to produce some results that will blow your socks off. So if you're interested in any of those, please come to me. Now, how does that relate to legacy? Well, what I've realized is that a number of people engage with my work in order to fix themselves, to change something, or to move something out of the way, okay? And that's completely fine, but in essence, what legacy is about expanding the space of life and expanding it in a way that means when you move on, that expansion still exists. Okay? Most people think of legacy as, what a parent leaves to their children or the next generation. Okay, so it's what's left behind. What I'm looking at from a holistic point of view is, how much are you operating inside a space that someone else has left behind? Okay? They may have done it without even realizing, and they may have done it with a clear intention that you don't know about, which means that you are restricted by the legacy that they have left and the fact that you're unconscious to it. Equally, how much are you clear that you're not just being in a space for a particular period of time, you're not trying to get through life making the fewest waves or the least effect on things, that you're actually leaving a legacy, and that means not when you pass away or when you permanently leave somewhere. It means each time you interact, you move through a space, you leave that space either better off, expanded and growing, or you leave some other kind of legacy. And are you aware of when you're leaving a legacy that might be detrimental to you when you return or when somebody else interacts? Let's look a little bit more deeply into legacy. So the parts of the body that I want you to be relating to when you look at legacy will be the shoulders, and especially the broadest part of the shoulders, and the pelvis. And the way to think about it is, as you move into life, or as the future comes towards you, it literally has to make some space around you, and some of the energy of the future will pass directly through you, okay? But it's the part that's going around you that I'm interested in. And if you are leaving a legacy, what that means is you are letting yourself be your bold and big version of yourself to create a space, to have an impact that opens up something where you are. Like you put a handprint into like a bowl of flour, for example, and that stays there, and then you could do something with it, okay? So that means that the aspects of yourself that might be keeping yourself small, avoiding confrontation, not wanting to rock the boat, trying to fit in, those aspects of self may be completely counter and against the idea of leaving a legacy, creating something that is there after you have left, which connects to a concept that I've spoken about before, which is called powerful absence. Okay, it's one thing to be a force when you're there. Can you be someone who, when you've left, people go, wow, I still remember what he said when he said this, or I still am using that thing that they showed me how to do, long after you're not there. So that's what I mean by legacy. And you want to start to look at, where are you not interested in your legacy? Where are you returning to spaces, like going to work on a Monday morning or going back home after the end of the day, and you are expecting things to be exactly the same as they were when you were there last? Because what that means is, at best, you're creating a space, but you're not leaving any growth, any opportunity for it to progress. And at worst, you're actually just interacting with life and not considering that you have any impact or say. So let's look at some hints and tips about how to ensure that you are interacting with the idea of legacy, and equally to recognize when you're not. All right? So firstly, I invite you to consider every time you move into something, a new day, a new project, a new space, a new interaction with somebody, there is an opportunity to be a contribution, which is not just to give someone something, but to give them the space to grow, to expand, to learn, to be more than they were before. And that starts with you. So it's not just about thinking, oh, I hope they're different this time. It's actually spending some time to think, when I leave this person or this space, can it be better? Can it be more? Could I discover something that then permanently shifts what's there? In doing that, we invariably start to look at ourselves as a tool or a vessel for expanding what people can do, which is this upper part of the body, or expanding what can be fulfilled and how much room there is for things to be completed and created. Okay? So then if these areas are feeling tight or uncomfortable, or if you look in the mirror and you don't like how they look, consider that that's some reflection on the fact that you don't think that you really permanently impact things for the better. And then of course there's looking at, am I settling for just permanently having some kind of impact, which might be creating drama, which might be upsetting people, which might just be, I don't care about them, I'm just getting what I need. Because whatever you are bringing does leave a legacy. Even if you're trying not to have an impact, you're creating a legacy. And the legacy then will be that you will have less opportunity to impact. When you go into spaces, if you feel powerless, look to see if that's as a result of anything you did previously, which left you or the space with the idea that you have no power and no say. Okay? You're not just shrinking yourself when you think small, you're shrinking the space of your next interaction with life. Another is to notice how much you are waiting to react to what's there and not actually creating an intention, at least a vision of how things might be, and perhaps a contingency plan if they don't go that way, that again leaves you with some pathway to progress and move forward. If you're waiting to see how somebody else is going to affect you, then you're allowing them and their conscious intention to provide a legacy, or their unconscious intention to impact you. You're leaving them with the power to do that. So if you leave an interaction and you feel like you feel less or worse, that consider is not the fault of the other person and not solely the other person's fault, unless they're really malicious. It's actually that you didn't bring a legacy into the space for yourself. So then life just kind of handed you whatever consequences were available to you. You can actually think of karma as being one aspect of legacy. So look at your thoughts, look at the emotions that you're expecting, look at the way that your physical body prepares for the future, whether it feels tired, whether it feels irritated, whether it feels excited. Look at whether or not you're just doing a series of tasks or whether you are doing something with a background context or picture of a future that is bigger than the individual tasks that you're doing. That will start to give you a real sense of whether you are creating and living a legacy. And if you're unsure, reach out to somebody that you can see is living in a legacy. Somebody who's already decided their 2024 is going to be breakthrough, is going to be leaving them with a foundation to absolutely go crush it in life and pick their brains. Like, engage with their projects. You'll start to then be in the energy of legacy and equally look at, are there familiar, and like by that I mean family related, or just things that you're used to that you bring from your past that are actually the legacy of previous generations, your childhood or your adolescence. Because while you're trying to fix or change or resist those things, you're actually operating to keep those past legacies alive. Okay, like if you have a legacy of being poor and not having enough money, any money that you create will then be inside the space of not having enough. So very quickly it will disappear. It won't become a foundation for you to then build on to create more wealth or more fulfillment in your life. That's a fundamental shift that needs to occur. So I would love to hear what this video brings to you, how it might impact you in the short term. Equally, like one of my clients contacted me today and told me about the legacy of some work I did with her, which years later are still allowing her to be physically healthier. I'd love to hear from you about how my work may have affected you in the future and what you can see from this video. And obviously any questions or comments you've got would be most welcome.